So for example, if I wanted to jump across and see all of the issues that I've opened, I can see my name there, and I can start pulling these back as well. So I can remove some of these filters, and I can say, show me all of the items that I've submitted that are open. So again, I'm starting to see a lot more flexibility in this. So I can now start filtering, ordering, sorting, and searching through all of my issues across the site. The other really big thing that we've been looking at here is building this consistency across all of the ways that people use these issues. So if I jump back into my work group, for example, I can see when it comes up, I can see here that I've got an issues tab that looks and feels exactly the same as the item itself. So as the whole registry issues page does as well. The other big advantage to this is it's a little bit intelligent. So again, I can still filter by things that I've opened versus other people that have opened them. I can filter based on the stewardship organization as well. I can filter on labels. So all of the functionality remains the same. It's just really just restricting it to issues opened in the work group. The other great thing is if I jump into this issue, if I look for all of the issues against an item, it displays the same page. So again, it's really starting to show a lot of consistency across the tool so that when somebody's looking at issues, no matter where they are, they can find and track these. One thing that I will do is while we're here, I'm going to jump into one of these examples that we put into the system just to show a little bit more about what's capable with this kind of information. It's not just about being able to let somebody know that somebody needs something needs to change. It's also about proactively helping them through that process as well. So if I open this issue, you can see here that I've opened an issue just for myself. It's just an example, I guess. What I can do is I can jump in here and I can see that somebody's kind of called it out and said, well, I've used the incorrect spelling of centimeters. I used the American spelling when for consistency, we're using Australian spelling in our examples. So what somebody's done is they've raised this as a potential problem for a resolution. What I can see here, though, is I can see where I've got this proposed changes to name. So what this means is that the person who's opened this issue has actually said, well, I've got a suggestion for you, similar to how track changes works for things like Microsoft Word. I can actually make a recommendation. If I expand that out, I can see what somebody's suggesting the name should be, and I can see the differences as well. So it's starting to show what the title was and what they reckon the title should be. And the really good thing is from here, as somebody who can edit this item, I don't need to jump away to kind of make the change and then jump back in. I can just hit this accept changes and close issues button. So if I do that, it's just going to register that change, save it in the system, make a note of why the issue was changed, and then update the page. So if I do that now, I'm just going to click accept because I'm happy with these. And then send spell update. Did it update? Oh, it did update. There we go. Phew, that's a relief. So you can see here it's updated the name, but it hasn't updated the definition. So it's automatically applied that change. It's made a version against the history. So it said, oh, this was changed in issue 4, and somebody has accepted this change. And now I'm just going to review my notes. So what I think we've just seen is we've seen the changes to the workgroup issues page. We've seen the changes to the issues on the item page. We've seen the changes to the new all issues tab, so somebody can find all of those. So, and then we've seen how the issues work in general when tracking changes against metadata. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for questions there. I think this is the big feedback portion. Just to let you know, it's myself and Lauren's taking questions through the chat as well. So if you have any feedback, please let me know. I'll just unmute and we'll hear from what people have to say. And we can welcome the people who just started joining in. There we go. So people should now be able to unmute. And if you've got any questions, fire away. Are there any questions on how the issues work, or are we generally pretty comfortable? We're pretty happy with the changes?
It's Mel Taylor here, Sam. I actually really like that, but I'd be keen to see if it's possible, for it to identify where centimetres is also spelt wrong in the definition as a issue that it's suggesting might be an issue as a result of the identified issue by the person who's done the review.
I think we could probably start looking into that. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
That would be, yeah, that'd be a great feature for us to start to look at. Thank you.
Hi, it's Tanya here.
Hey, Tanya.
Hello. I missed the first 5 minutes, sorry. Did you also go through changes similar to the lovely things done with issues for reviews? Because that's where we're having the most issues with.
We're covering that one up next.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
That's okay. No. So I think I didn't quite cover the full agenda at the start. So we're just having a look at the issues now. We're going to gather all the feedback together, and then we're going to do the reviews in a second. Anna's asking, will it change that spelling across all indicators where it's located? If a particular item was used in a number of different areas, then yes, that spelling change would be, you'd see it would change all of the instances on the site where that data element was used. And as Anna's kind of raised, there's a couple of different metadata types. So we've got indicators and data sets and data elements and classifications. Issues and reviews can be tracked against all types of metadata in the system. And Anna's typing. Oh, you're welcome, Anna. Any other questions on that one? Or are we generally pretty good to move on? Sounds like we're pretty happy. Okay, well, that's good. That's nice. If there is any other feedback, again, we're really strongly encouraging people to kind of join the Aristotle community. So community.aristotlemetadata.com. We're taking a lot of feedback and suggestions and kind of providing examples through there as well. So if you have any questions or any feedback from today, please let us know. More than happy to take that. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just mute people again, and we'll jump back into it. So I'm going to jump over to my sharing site. There we go. Groovy. So as Tanya was talking about, so issues is one really great way of starting to record all these decisions that are happening across the site. So, I've got to let somebody know about some changes that need to be happening. I can make recommendations. But what I'm really focused on, or what we're really focused on in Aristotle, is not just the creation of this content, but also the endorsement and the registration of metadata as well. So what we've done is we've implemented a reviews system that kind of sits alongside the issues, that kind of works with them to make it easier for people to work together to start publishing content. What we did notice, though, is we did notice some feedback that it was very much from one person submitting something to a whole registration authority with not much capability of collaboration. So we've got some big changes around this one that we're really happy to start showing off, that'll really demonstrate that kind of collaborative aspect that we want people to be working in within Aristotle. To show you what we did have and to show you a screen that you will be familiar with, I'm just going to bring up the My Review Requests tab. So this is the tab as it currently exists in your dashboard. You'll see you've got the ability to see all of your review requests, but that was about it. So you couldn't just closed issues. You couldn't. There was a little bit of sorting. There wasn't a lot of search. And as you started to get more and more people using the platform, it started to become, people were starting to say, well, I've got hundreds of these things that people are submitting to me or that I've been a part of, and it's starting to become a little unwieldy. So we've taken that feedback on and we've started to bring it together. And when I say bring it together, what I'm talking about there is we've got this other section in the sidebar just for reviews that were submitted to you. So if somebody has submitted some content to you for review, there was no way for you to kind of just filter through those. So what we've done is we've brought these together. So we've got the review requests and then we've got the reviews list. And there was that issue of not being able to bring people in as well. So what we've got now is we've got one unified section. So I'll just bring that up. And again, again, really subtle changes on this one, but again, I think that people are going to find them to be a really big improvement on how people use the platform. As you can see down here, just under the Issues tab, we've now got one unified section, just review requests. So it's for every review that you have the opportunity to see. So if I click on that, you're going to see something, again, really consistent with the Issues tab. So again, we're really trying to build that consistency to make sure people can work with these in the system. So you can see here, I've got one review open. It was opened by me. And I can see that because it's just listed here under the name. So I can see that I've opened it. I've also attached it to a work group, and I'll show you how we did that in a second. I've got the ability to, I can see who I've asked for it to be endorsed by. So what I've said is I've got some content and I'd like it to be endorsed by my data governance committee. I'd like it to be a standard, and then I want it to be a standard as of about next week. I've also got the due date, so I can see what's happening in the system. I can filter by these. I can start to see when it was created, when it was last commented on, what's kind of happening within the system. And I've got a lot of that information there. Sorry, Lauren's just about to show me a question. Or was that something else? No? Okay. So that's probably the first big change there is we've changed how this looks, and it's now in one single location. What I'm going to do is I'll just show you how a couple of these filters work. So I can just filter by my name. So I can just say, show me things that have been submitted by me. I can ask to see things that have just been submitted to a particular registration authority, and I can search as well. So if I was searching for my example, I could do a search there. And the text here is like it's a little bit intelligent. If your spelling isn't perfect, like mine usually isn't in these demos, you'll also notice that it'll pick up the spelling mistakes a little bit there as well. One big change that we've got here is the ability to attach a review to a work group. So you'll notice that what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump across back to my work group, and you might have seen earlier in the demonstration, we've got the ability to, have a tab for the reviews as well. So again, flicking back and forth between the issues and reviews, you can see a lot of consistency in the site. And I can now attach a work group. And what that means is that everybody in my work group can now participate in this review, and they can see all of those reviews in one single place. The way that that's done is really similar to how we create reviews for everything else. And I'm going to run through an example just to run through some of these features for people who haven't seen how the Aristotle reviews work in practice. So I'm just going to click create a new review, and I've got one particular item that I'm thinking of here, and I'm going to show off my excellent spelling skills. So I've got my example review during the presentation, and I'm going to attach it to my work group. So I'm going to attach it to my reviews example work group. I really want my team to be working with me on this. I'm going to submit it to a data governance committee. I'd like it done by the end of the week, and I'd like it to be made a standard. The other thing that I'd like to do is I'd like that registration status. So when this is all done, I need this to be marked as registered from the Monday after it's been completed. So I'm going to send this off to a team. I need them to review it. I need it to be approved by the end of this week, so on Friday, so that on Monday morning, this content gets published and is made available. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to look for my dictionary. So I've got a basic data dictionary, and I want to register everything in it. So I know that this is this has a bunch of items in it, so it's got a number of data elements in it. So I want those to be registered with it. And rather than selecting all of those individually, I'm just going to say yes, cascade the registration and bring everything in. So find me everything that's related to this little data dictionary and bring it in for review. And when I create a review, you'll see that I've got the reviews now saved. So it's now been created in my registry. I can see that everybody in my work group will now be able to see it. And if I jump back to my work group just quickly, we'll see here. There we go. I've got 2 reviews open. You'll also see that we're starting to attach numbers to the reviews as well. So I'll show you how you use those in a second, but each review and each issue has its own unique number. this is really useful for identification purposes. So if I wanted to say to somebody, I need you to review, or examine, I need you to do some stuff for review number 2 by the end of the week. What they can do is when they're in Aristotle, they could just go my Aristotle /review /number 2, and it'll take them directly where they need to be. Now, the other things that we can see here is it's already brought in a number of extra items. So I've only asked for it to register the one item, but it's grabbed a number of other ones as well, and I'll show you where those are. So here we can see it's the difference between these are the items that I've added into the review, and then in this impacts tab will show you everything else that's been dragged in as well. So I really want that data dictionary to be reviewed, but it's brought in all of the data elements that are associated with it and some content as well. So I'll have a quick jump into this to show you what it looks like. So here we can see my basic little data dictionary. I've constructed just a little data dictionary with 3 columns. I haven't added any extra metadata to them, but you can see I've got these three columns here. And if you start looking really closely, you'll start to see there's a little bit of inconsistency in how they're named. And that was done for a reason. I didn't actually misspell those ones. That was actually done on purpose, because if I go back to my reviews, one other thing that we've started to building in and that we're starting to build out the help for is this validation tab. So this is probably one of our little secrets that we're starting to make available and starting to get people involved with. We know that people are time sensitive, and in a review for a data dictionary, it's not going to be 4 items. It can be up to 400. And that's going to be a big challenge, is knowing that everything's ready for review, knowing that things are passing those minimum standards to be published as part of your governance processes is really important. One of the things that we're starting to look at is what we're calling our auto registrar, adding the ability to validate this content in the system through the system itself. So rather than having somebody to rather than having to have someone look at all of the content and make sure that it meets certain minimum standards, we're actually building that into the platform. So you can start to write validation rules that say, well, if it hasn't got any linked content, I need to fail it. I can't go any further because I need certain things to be there. I can also start including certain rules about how names can be constructed. So you can see here in these 2 examples down the bottom, I've used a little colon as part of the naming pattern for my data elements. But in this one at the top, I haven't. I've used a hyphen. That's probably not a problem, but somebody needs to be aware of it. So before this goes through to the final stage to be approved, there's a little warning that's been applied, and it says, well, it doesn't quite match the pattern that you've said I need to match. What should I be doing here? And really making it easy for those registrars, because if we saw green ticks all the way down the board, we know that this content's probably of a pretty good quality. Now we can't check all of the spelling, and we can't check that it's accurate, but what we do know is it's going to meet all of those minimum governance requirements. And if they're meeting those governance requirements, they're probably doing a pretty good job elsewhere. So it's really designed both for the registrars to help them see what's going on behind the scenes. Is everything ready to go? And it's also really useful for people entering content, because what they'll start to see is well, there's a few things that I might want to fix up before a registrar comes along and finalizes the review. And then lastly, we've got our conversations. So this is where, again, we can start building out that collaborative process. The idea here is that we want to get people involved and talking together to make sure that those conversations and those decisions about how things have to change are captured alongside the metadata. So if somebody was curious to know how did something get registered, they don't need to go back through a whole bunch of documents. They can jump into the registry, they can look at an item, they can see the reviews that it was part of, and then they can see the decisions processes that led up to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to my dashboard again, and I jump into my reviews, and then that's the last big presentation, or the last big demonstration for today's feedback session. So I'm going to open it up for questions there. We'll get some feedback on the reviews process, and then we'll open it up to some more general Q&A from the audience. So I'll just unmute. There we go. So if you have any questions about the reviews, please let me know. So we've got one question here from Mel and one piece of feedback. Oh, sorry, one piece of feedback from Mel. And one piece of feedback from Tanya Wordsworth. Yes, they can be configured by each registry administrator. So I'll quickly show you how that works. And it's a little bit better than that as well, Tanya. So I'm going to jump to my, where do I go to get to it? Give me a second. So if I go to my registration authority, each registration authority, because each registration authority kind of describes its own governance process, they might all have their own like workflow and their own requirements for validation. Each registration authority can set it up themselves, and then there can be rules at the entire registry level. So if there's multiple agencies using a single registry that have a single set of requirements or rules that have been set up, we can set it up at a registry level, or the users can set it up at a registry level, or they can set it up at a registration authority level. So if there's particular rules that apply to one governance committee that don't for another, that we can capture through this process, they can set up those custom rules there as well. So thanks for asking that one. Were there any other questions on the review processes? No? Any feedback on how people expected the work groups to be functioning? Does it meet, I guess, like Tanya, you had some questions about it. Is it meeting the things that you're expecting?
In terms of the work group being able to, other members of the work group able to see what reviews are in train for that content, then yes, that covers that. That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
One other piece of feedback that we have heard from some people that we aren't showing yet, that we're probably going to be rolling out in the next update to this one. So we're going to be pushing this out in the next couple of days. One piece of feedback that we have heard is that people are looking for the ability to assign an issue and assign a review to somebody as well. So at the moment, they're very much focused on the entire group. So I might say, you know, here's a review that's for the entire group itself. To do is they want to track the ability to say, look, this is a review that I know needs to go to someone. They've asked me to investigate this and I'm going to assign it back to them. Or if you wanted to assign it back to the person who first submitted it, we're looking at adding that in so that people would start to get notified when they have, you know, actions that are going back to them as well. I think we've got one more question coming through on the chat. And were there any other questions from people? I think we've got a few more people who joined. Was there anything that people missed? Mel's coming back in. So Adrian's asked, how will registration authorities build their validation rules? So I can help you with that, Adrian. We've got, it's basically, because we're talking about kind of machine code for describing rules, we've got like a little language set up for it that we're helping people with. I'll send you through, or what I'll do is after this, I'll post some examples onto our community forums, and you can have a look there, and then we can step you through if there's any particular like extra rules or extra use cases that we're looking at managing. We can help with examples through that. But the idea is if you enter it in, you can kind of manage it yourself. So that you can kind of, yeah, we don't have to be, we can be as involved in the process as you need us to be, I think. All right. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. So like I said, we're looking at rolling this out really soon. Like it sounds like everybody's two thumbs upping, which is really good. So we're looking at rolling this out quite quickly to kind of meet the needs of some users who've kind of given us some really great feedback on this. Are there any other questions that people had about Aristotle in general? If everybody's kind of happy, I'm happy to have people kind of drop off or stay on for more questions. Again, this is a really great opportunity for us to take that direct feedback. And like I said, we're already starting to plan for the next one. The next one that we're going to be rolling out, or the next feature review that we're going to be rolling out is about 2 weeks' time. We're going to be doing some big security changes. So nothing really huge that's going to impact end users, but for those technical people who are interested in, you know, maintaining the security of that metadata, we're going to be doing that in about 3 weeks, I'd say. But yeah, if there's any other feedback on the platform, please let me know. Was there anything else that you think we should have covered, Lauren?
No, that's good.
All right.
I'm just going to put a link to the community.
Oh, yeah. So Lauren's going to put in a link to the communities. We're really encouraging people to go there as one of, not the only, but one of the really, really important kind of ports of call for people to start asking these questions. We've seen some questions where we can't provide the answer because it's really about how people are using it internally. If you've got questions about how people are using Aristotle, probably some of the best people to answer that are the users themselves. So we're really trying to build that kind of interaction between everybody here today. So this is a special one because we are kind of demonstrating stuff out. It's been very much me talking to you, but what we're trying to do is get everybody talking to each other, and that includes ourselves as well. We've got our full team, our developers, our marketing, and our metadata experts kind of on the forums daily. So if there are questions, that's probably a really great place to go. But yeah, I think like if there are no more big questions today, and again, if you've got some big questions, we've got a lot of time left over this afternoon. But if there's no more big questions, if people are happy to kind of drop off and enjoy an early afternoon, you're more than welcome. But we'll be sticking around for the next 20 minutes or until everybody's logged off, I guess. Mel's typing. Michael?
Hi, Sam. How's it going?
I'm good, Michael. Welcome from space.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Have to go far to get things working. I was wondering about the fields in the JSON representation of all of these things coming in and out of the API. Should there just seems to be some inconsistency as to when a field is a UUID or an ID or an Aristotle ID. And yeah, sometimes the data element UUID might be UUID or it might be data element. Sometimes an ID is a UUID or sometimes it's an Aristotle ID. And I was wondering, now that people are using the thing, I realize that changing things around would be horrendous, but is there any way forward with making it consistent or?
So with that one, what we're probably going to be moving towards is we're never going to remove stuff from the API, like you said. Certainly not without big kind of announcements and big deprecations to let people know that things could break. What we'll be doing is we'll probably, if we have to do big consistency changes, we'll like version everything across. So at the moment we're on version 4 of the API. At the moment we're looking at where people are identifying those inconsistencies where we're only returning one. We're just kind of making sure that we at least return both, and it's really clear which one it is. So if you are identifying any where we are inconsistent, like I think that's probably one of our big themes across the platform is that the more consistent we build it, the easier it is for people to kind of pick up new things. So if there are any inconsistencies, kind of again, either report them back through our support emails or report them back through the community, and we'll get on top of them as quick as we can. And like I said, Michael's been doing some great work with our API. He's been doing some stuff internally. So when you get an opportunity to kind of demonstrate that, we'd really like to do that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I've actually got an update process running now where I'm changing around some data element links. One is superseded by another, and so there's 500 odd to change. So it's not massive, but it's annoying if someone has to do it by hand. So I thought, why don't we just do this programmatically?
And you've been able to automate all that through Aristotle?
Yes. Combination of GraphQL and the version 4 of the core API set, and
awesome.
That's humming along nicely. I love to write it in Python or something like that, but currently I'm just playing around with VBA.
Sounds like
and even that will work. So if you can do it through that, you can do it through anything.
That's awesome. Congrats. That's great.
All right, cool. That's it for me. Please let someone else step in.
Are there any other big questions that people want or demonstrations of features that people are interested in? No, we've got one coming through from Anna. I feel like I'm on the radio. Or like a podcast is probably more accurate. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some good feedback on this going forward. I didn't realize how excited everybody was going to be. I thought we'd have like 1 or 2 people coming along. So the turnout's been great. And again, we're really strongly supportive of that kind of user interaction. Somebody said they're kind of hesitant to share this content around. Oh, thanks, Mel. Hesitant to share this around because they don't want us to be overloaded with people who are interested, and that's probably a problem that I'd like to have. So if you're interested in getting more people along, or if you'd like to share any of the content that we're making available either through this or through our forums, yeah, please do, because hopefully maybe we'll get double next time. Not that this wasn't a great turnout. So, and I'll work on my radio voicemail. Thank you. Any other questions? I think, yeah, we've got quite a lot of people coming along, which is great. Yeah, if there's any other questions, please let me know again. Otherwise, should I just start demonstrating some stuff to get people? Oh, we'll just start demonstrating some stuff. So I'm going to jump in. What's really cool that we've been working on recently? Oh, the classification stuff. I'll do that. Like if I've got everybody who's here and interested, we did a whole bunch of work on classifications recently. And I don't want to, if people are still on and watching, this is fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up, we did some work to add the ability to manage large scale classifications through Aristotle. This went live probably about a month ago. We released a video on it. We didn't get it. We didn't think of doing a forum like this, and we probably might in a couple of weeks' time. But basically, one big feature that people were interested in was the ability to manage really big kind of hierarchical complex classifications through Aristotle. And we looked at part of our roadmap for this year. And again, we're going to be seeking feedback on the roadmap for next year. But part of the roadmap for this year was being able to manage big classifications. We looked at the standards and we started to bring together ANSCO as an example of content that you could start managing through Aristotle. So this is probably one of the largest Australian classifications. Got a question? Could you also show an inventory of all items in a particular workgroup? Yes, you can, Anna. I'll just show you how that's done. So you can view it all. It is only it only shows a small number of them. But if I jump to one of my work groups on here, so you can see we've got quite a lot of content in our COVID dashboard that we put together. And you can see that this goes on for quite some time. We are looking at doing some similar kind of enhancements that we did for the issues to allow people to search through these lists of items and filter through these lists of items. But you can pull and view all of the content for one particular work group as well. One other thing of note is probably the most interesting thing is Oops. Whoops. I was in the wrong window. This one. Sorry, guys. Here's what I prepared earlier. So this is our like the work groups page. So you can see I can browse through all of the metadata. What you can see here is I can grab all of the content from one work group and I can start looking through it. And down the bottom, you can start going through each of the pages individually. Like I said, we are looking at adding some search around this so that it looks and operates similar to the issues and the reviews. So you can grab all that content from there. That was my bad. I was in the wrong window. Thank you, guys. So what I'll do is I'll just grab the ANSCO then for you because I'm really proud of this one. We worked really hard on it. It's really great. So the team did a really great job pulling this together. What we've done is we've pulled everything across from the Australian Standard Classification for Occupations, which is probably one of the biggest classifications that we've got out there. And it's now existing inside of an Aristotle metadata registry as well. So Michael was kind of talking about our API and the accessibility of all of the information. Just like everything else in Aristotle, each one of these pages, each one of these levels within the classification can be pulled out. So you can extract it from the API and you can start doing really cool things with it from there. The other really good thing is that it also grabs all of the information around the classification as well, along with all of the endorsement processes. One other thing I will tell you is, so Aristotle.cloud is an open and live registry that we make available for anybody to access. So you don't need to have your own metadata registry. We're actually currently going through a private beta at the moment to get people involved and get people using it. We've got an open beta to allow people to sign up, create their own organization. So you just need to work with us on that at the moment. But basically, we can set you up with a private space within the registry. You can set up your own registration process, all within a live cloud-based metadata environment. So if you're not at that stage where you're like a full client yet, or if you're just using aristotle.cloud, there are ways for us to start allowing you to use some of this collaboration functionality as well. And we've been using that a lot ourselves. As you can see, we've been using that for a lot of our examples. We've been publishing our user guides through here. So if you aren't familiar with our user guides, we have a whole stewardship organization in Aristotle set up just for the sharing of user guides. So if you're curious to know how to do anything, if you're looking for particular use cases, or if you're looking for examples of how to do certain things in Aristotle, we've got our user guides area within Aristotle. You can view and download a lot of these documents. So again, if you wanted to preview these, you can do that. If it comes up, sometimes it doesn't. But you can download and view all of the files necessary, so you can see how to do certain activities within Aristotle as well. So there's a lot of content that we've got out there and available. Yeah. Is there any other way to load classifications other? Not at the moment. So Tanya's asked, is there any way to load classifications other than through the API? Not at the moment, but we are looking at producing like a little tool to help map from Excel into the API so that you can import them in. So watch this space is the answer for that one. But yeah, so again, if there's big classifications you're interested in, we can start managing that stuff as well. Are there any other questions? So I think we've got about 15 minutes left, and it's really exciting to hear. Like, everybody's kind of happy to see me talk for a while. If there's any other, like, are there any other examples that people would like to see, or things that people would like to kind of explore in more depth? Everybody should be able to unmute themselves. I think I turned that back on. No, everybody. So if you've got any questions, either type them in or let us know. Got a question here. Are there plans to allow API searches using IDs other than the UIDs? When we're currently looking, I think actually no, sorry, Michael, we did release that really recently. It was a small change that we kind of pushed out. You should be able to access content through the API using its universally unique identifier or its little Aristotle ID, its database identifier. So you should be able to use either of those. We generally recommend the UUID because as we start moving towards the federation of content between registries, UUID is going to be consistent no matter which registry you're looking at, but you should be able to use both now.
Awesome, thanks. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
I'll stick with the UUID. It's just sometimes I have different IDs, so I've got to do an interim GraphQL query to figure out what the UUID is before I can do the query I want. But it's all good.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Well, as long as you're getting closer, like it sounds like you're doing some really amazing stuff there, Michael.
It's not that complicated. It's all good.
All right. Okay. Are there any other big questions that people would like to see? I think we've run through. Well, we've run through everything that I was really interested to get feedback on. Sounds like everybody was generally happy with the new issues and reviews. We've run through a few examples of the different types of metadata we can see and the different collaboration mechanisms in Aristotle. And we ran through, the new classifications content. And I guess we gave you a preview of the next one. So again, the feedback and the kind of like enthusiasm that everybody's had has been really great. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing another one of these very shortly with some more features and getting some more feedback. So yeah, please, and in the interim, if you do want to join the community, if you want to provide feedback, if you want to share, so we've been recording this as well. So if you wanted to let people, like, you know, I'll make people aware of what's kind of happening in this space, please let us know. All right. Okay, so I think unless there's any more questions, I'm happy to kind of call it here. I think Adrian's typing one last one. Thank you, Sam. That's great. You're welcome, Adrian. All right. Well, in that case, I think it's nearly 5 o'clock. It's a Monday, and I think everybody's looking for an early day. So I'm not going to hold everybody here. Really wanted to say thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you for coming along. Even, like, you know, knowing that people are really interested to see this is really great. So what we'll do is we'll kind of cut it here. If there are any questions, jump on the community, find us on LinkedIn. We are available, or you can just message us at hello@aristotlemetadata.com, and we'll get back to you with any answers we can. All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Sam.
Guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.